members that includes certain injuries, this plan can be yours for as little as 75 cents per day. Call us at Beacon or log on to beacon.co.tt for more info today.
2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6.
Education multiplies their chances and places the world of opportunity in their hands. No matter where they are in the world, make sure they are prepared for their journey back to school with Western Union. School fees, books, room and board, whatever the reason. Knowledge, independence, opportunity. Western Union, moving money for better.
All right, we are inside of the ladies' room. This is Power 95, and right now I gotta say a special good morning going out to Dr. Arlette Herry. How are you doing this morning?
I am great. I'm awesome. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. For those that don't know, let people know who you are.
I'm a health psychologist. I work at St. George's University, and some people would ask, well, what does a health psychologist do?
Yeah, what
And
does
we
a health
basically-
psychologist do?
Yeah, we focus on health and
Mhm.
promoting well-being. We help people to develop good coping strategies to manage stress, chronic illnesses, life
Mhm.
changes. So
Mhm.
that's what I do.
All right, and right now with the pandemic and everything that everyone is going through, because the pandemic is affecting everybody in one way or the other, some more than others. Mental health is something that keeps coming up, right? Why is that so important now more than ever?
Well, I think for many of us, we ignore mental health. When we think about health, we think about physical health. But I
Mhm.
wanted to just touch briefly on what mental health is, because it
Yes.
includes, our emotional, our psychological, and our social well-being.
Mhm.
And it affects the way that we think and feel and act. And so when you think about mental health, think about a state of well-being where you feel that you can cope with the normal stresses of life and you can work, be productive,
Yeah.
you're able to contribute to your community.
Hmm.
So mental wellness is an important part of overall health. And the saying really is there is no health without mental health. And I think the pandemic has alerted us, for those of us who was probably ignoring our mental health,
Yeah.
the pandemic has brought that to the forefront.
Now you have some people that you know they are. What are some of the signs when somebody is mentally drained?
I think we all know when we feel like mentally fatigued, right? And one thing to note is that although we all experience stress, right? Stress is a normal part of life.
Yeah.
The physical response is similar, but the way that what would stress you out, Scratch, wouldn't may not stress me out, and vice versa. So
That
the
is
way that
true.
we experience stress is different. For
Hmm.
example, for some people, that feeling of just tiredness, your body's hurting, but you didn't do anything physical necessarily.
Hmm.
You may be sleeping too much, you may not be sleeping at all. For some people, they don't eat at all, so it affects their appetite. And for others, they would eat everything and the fridge,
Hmm.
right?
Wow.
Um,
Everything on the fridge. Right.
and I'm the one that doesn't eat at all when I'm stressed.
Right.
So it's that feeling you're irritable all the time. You're getting upset for no good reason. The things that brought you joy, you may have liked going to the beach, and all of a sudden, you know what? I just want to sit at home. I don't want to do anything that I usually enjoy. So it's important to pay attention to those signs.
And what would you say are some tips for maintaining good mental health, especially now?
Staying positive. One of the major things I think, especially during the pandemic, staying positive. A lot of negative is happening, right? We get that.
Hmm.
But I think for too many of us, we focus on the things outside of our control. So
Hmm.
staying positive and focusing on the things that you can control. So what are some things that you can control? Well, you can control, you may have restricted movement. People are stressing. You can control that. But what can you control? You can control, one, getting vaccinated. Two, you can control following the social protocols. You can control taking care of yourself and your family. So focusing on the things that you can control, disengaging from the things that are overwhelming you. Some persons have reached out and talking about, there's so much information out there, they feel overwhelmed and it's stressing them out.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to pull back. It's okay to say, you know what, I'm going to check Facebook once a day, not every 2 minutes.
Right.
Persons, somebody said to me the other day, they said, I check the dashboard like 3-4 times a day. And
The
the
COVID
question I asked,
dashboard.
the dashboard that we get,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so
The COVID dashboard you're talking
the
about.
COVID dashboard.
Right, right.
And I said, well, why are you checking it that often? For one, it doesn't change more than once. You get it once every day.
That's right.
So why are you checking it? Because I just want to, I want to see what's going on. Okay. How about you decide to check it once a day? Because the
Mm-hmm.
numbers doesn't change.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also important as to when you check it, right? The brain is such a complex and beautiful organ that what you see and hear and do just before bed is impacting you even when you're asleep.
Oh, you
So
serious?
focusing on, yes, absolutely. Think about that scratch for a minute. Think about the times where you've probably been listening to a song just before you fell asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Chances are when you wake up the morning, that song is still on your mind. Or a memory that's attached to that song, and
Mm-hmm.
you're wondering, okay, why am I thinking about this?
Or you have a dream about it.
Or you have a dream about it.
Right.
And so we wonder why just before bed we focus on all of the negative things that are happening around us, and we wake up and we feel exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
It's because the brain has been working overtime. So keeping positive, focusing on the things that you can control, getting physically active. I cannot stress that enough. Exercise is such an amazing way to just keep our mental health in a positive way, because we
Yeah.
know when we exercise,
You
we
feel good
release
afterwards.
feel good hormones, you feel good. And
Yep.
remember, we said, mental health is the state of well-being.
Yeah.
And exercising, eating healthy.
Mm-hmm.
We've been so blessed. My neighbor yesterday brought me huge watermelon, corn. We have all of this great local stuff, and we're still eating way too much processed foods. We
Yeah.
know that eating raw fruits and vegetables contribute to positive mental health. So take advantage of what we have. We have
Mm-hmm.
fish. We have a lot of great stuff. Just
Mm-hmm.
take advantage of what we have. So eating healthy, getting physically active,
Physically
staying
active.
positive, getting enough sleep. Scratch, that's one thing I think a lot of us we take for granted.
I'm guilty of that. Not getting enough
We
sleep.
take it for granted, right? I've heard people say, "Oh, I'll sleep when I'm dead."
Hmm.
Well,
Wow. Wow.
getting enough sleep is important because sleep allows us to rejuvenate.
Yeah.
It helps to restore not just our mental well-being, but our physical well-being.
Mm-hmm.
So getting enough sleep is important. Not sleeping too much because that also has its own issues. But
You see,
getting
the thing
enough.
with me though, is that um I believe there's a such thing as a body clock,
Yes,
right? There's a
absolutely.
such thing as a body clock. And even for myself, and this has been embedded in me from since when I was going to school, having to wake up early. Then when
Right.
I started working in the bank, well, worse again, had to wake up early. So even when I go on vacation, right?
Mhm.
Or even now I'm working this later shift at 9 because I normally work at 6. I
Right.
am still getting up after 5.
Yes.
I'm
And
still getting
that's
up after
okay.
5.
It's good to have that routine. I
Hmm.
think what happens is so for example, I'm similar to you in that way. I'm an early riser.
Yeah.
But if you catch me awake at 9 at night, you're lucky.
Hmm.
But I'm up by 4:30.
Right.
So it's important for you to know what your circadian rhythm, that body clock you're talking about,
Yeah.
it's important for you to know what that is and to ensure you're going to sleep at a time when you would get your 7 to 8 hours.
Wow. Can't tell you when last I got that amount. Sorry. I really can't. Yesterday, was interesting.
Yes.
Some people lost their minds yesterday. Instagram was down, Facebook was down. All right.
WhatsApp
Um,
was down.
what? Oh my goodness! How could I forget WhatsApp? How could I forget WhatsApp? WhatsApp was down. It had some people even questioning if they paid their phone bill. Right. Um, is it a bad thing for society to be because listen, that made the news. That you know, I saw it all over the news. You know, Facebook down, Instagram down, WhatsApp, and so on and so forth. But
Mhm.
in a time like now, is that a bad thing for people to be so worked up that their social media platforms are not functioning? I mean, yes, it is, especially where WhatsApp is concerned, it is a way that we communicate, right? Faster. And with it being down, it could be a thing. But
Right.
is that bad or
What do
good?
you think we learned from that, though? I think we learned that we're too dependent. We've forgotten how to be connected to people on a deeper level,
Yeah.
right? And I think what that taught us was we need to get a little more creative in the way that we interact with others.
Hmm.
Um, I was guilty of that because, quite frankly, I was trying to remember somebody's phone number and I couldn't because it's usually WhatsApp is what I'm using.
Or their birthday. I know some people rely on Facebook to know people's birthdays, but yeah.
There you go.
Mhm.
But I think we have to do a better job. Yes, we want to stay connected, but there are times we need to unplug just to recharge. And I know that
Mhm.
sounds funny that we're unplugging to recharge,
Mhm.
but it's that time that you need for you without any other influences. What do you do? And it comes back to finding ways of recharging. So whether, like I said, it's going to the beach, whether it's taking a jog, whether it's gardening, whether it's playing with your pets, whether it's baking, whatever it is, find that time to focus on you. And I mean, obviously we live in a time when we're so connected globally, and that's great. That has its
Mhm.
advantages, but we have to do a better job in terms of disconnecting at times,
Now,
disengaging.
tell me, does stress and poor mental health affect men and women differently, or is
I'm
it the
glad you
same?
asked that.
Mhm.
Um, and so what if you look at the research, what we see is that men and women report similar stress levels. But what
Mhm.
we find is that women are more likely to report when their stress levels are increasing.
Oh, they are more open with it.
Yes. And
And men are.
let's think about that for a minute.
Mhm.
We as a society, we have not equipped our men to cope effectively with stress. Think
Mhm.
about what happens.
Stress and rejection.
Stress and rejection. We got to do
Mhm.
better. We have got to help. We have got to help our young men. Think of this for a sec. Little boy is playing, he falls and he starts to cry. What is
Mhm.
the first thing we say? Oh, big boys don't cry. You're fine. Get up,
Mhm.
brush it off. And we reinforce this constantly. You know, you're a
Yeah.
man, take it as a man, figure it out. So we haven't created a space or an environment where men feel comfortable feeling vulnerable,
It, li-
sharing
it
their hurt,
is it
sharing
that
their stress.
they look at it as a sign of weakness?
Yes, but society, we're to blame for that. Society has created that,
Mhm.
right? We've been telling men to figure it out themselves.
Mhm.
Um, Women, on the other hand, again from a young age, a little girl falls. What do? We run to her aid. We let her cry. We kiss it, make it better.
Mhm.
So women were socialized to share their feelings, cry if they want to, call a girlfriend, call their mom, call their aunt, talk about what's going on. But we haven't allowed men to do that. And so it's important for us to start having that conversation and letting men know that, hey, we're all going through it. It's okay to
And
talk about it.
would you say that whether it be male or female, not talking about it is a bad thing?
Absolutely. Think of not talking about it as a covered pot
Mhm.
on high. So it's boiling. What's going to happen eventually?
Explode.
It's going to explode. It's going to
Mhm.
boil over. And
Yeah.
a lot of times when that happens, it's not in a good way, right? That's the times when we're either um, turning to drugs and alcohol as a
Yeah.
coping mechanism. We aggression, because remember, we just handle things differently. So if you're not talking about it, if you don't have, and when I say talk about it, scratch, I don't mean going and tell everybody your business. I know people say,
Right.
why would I um, tell anyone what I'm going through? So I don't mean telling everybody your business.
Hmm.
You have your close boys, your friends that you talk to. Share that. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, also remember that the Ministry of Social Development has a psychosocial unit, and
Okay.
they have counselors for that very reason.
Hmm.
So reach out. I want to give the helpline number.
Hmm.
It's 440-4787. Four four
And
zero 4787.
440-4787.
Yeah.
Um, so what would you say someone should do if it is they know someone or see someone that they may be close to, not in a good mental place?
Reach out. Take that opportunity to say, hey, what's going on? A
Hmm.
lot of times when we're going through something, we think like we're the only ones. We feel so isolated. We think we're the only ones who's going through that.
Hmm.
I always say if you listen to a love song, you realize that the world, everyone universally has gone through a breakup,
Hmm.
right? But a lot of times we going through something, we think we're the only ones.
And that isn't the case.
That isn't the case. So reach out, talk to someone. Um, and again, it's important that that person knows that whatever is being said to you is confidential. I think that's one of the things people struggle with. They think, okay, if I tell this person, then they'll go tell, my other friends. We have to be able to keep those confidences. Obviously, there are exceptions to that, because if somebody's going to be hurting themselves, if they plan to hurt themselves or others, that has to be reported. But
Hmm.
I think generally people just want an opportunity to talk. I'm going to tell you to try an experiment, scratch. You know how we say, we meet somebody on the street and we say, hey, how you doing?
Right.
We almost say that as a greeting. We don't stop to listen to the response.
That is true. It's like automatic. It's like you're on autopilot with it. Hey, what's going
Yeah.
on? And that's
And
it.
you keep
And you
going,
keep
right?
going away. Right.
If I'm
Right.
about to tell you what's going on with me, you'll be like, "Oh, wait, what?"
Yeah, it's like I ain't asking
Because
that, but yes, you did.
yeah, yeah. So it's
Right.
that willingness to listen to others,
Hmm.
and like I said, if it's something you feel that would need professional intervention,
Yeah.
then reach out to the psychosocial unit.
Now, something I want to ask. I'm getting back to social media a bit because it's something that I've been reading and people have different opinions about it, in the sense that it has its good and it has its bad. And
Hmm.
that with the advent of social media, you find more people now comparing. There's a lot of comparisons going on, especially where Instagram is concerned, with like where you are and where somebody else is necessarily, right? Um,
Hmm.
do you think that, yes, I know social media is a powerful tool, or so on and so on, but do you think that there should necessarily be an age limit for it or not? Because look, I understand that Instagram the other day wanted to come out with Instagram for kids, which a lot of people were not in agreement with. What are your thoughts on that?
So I'm just gonna put the disclaimer out there right now about my biases about that.
Hmm.
I think, as you absolutely said, social media has its place. It has made the world so much smaller that we're able to now be exposed to different cultures, different, it's awesome.
Hmm.
But we also know the negative parts of that. And I think creating that avenue for kids is now giving them this opportunity to now create, not be authentic, create these impressions. I mean, at the end of the day, we're human beings, and we're all, I always like to say, we're in the impression management business, right? Nobody wants to come across as being less than, so to speak.
That is true.
But because of that, we tend to embellish who we are and what we are.
Hmm.
And that is not healthy. We're not living our authentic lives. The real, I mean, on social media, how many people actually have their real lives on there?
Well,
We only
that,
see what they want you to see, right? These lives that we've constructed. And so it's not, it can be unhealthy.
hmm.
And again, I think if you're opening up that now that space for kids, then there needs to be that awareness and education on the front end before that even happens.
Do
But
you
again,
think?
who's going to be monitoring that?
Well, that is true. I mean, age limit alone ain't gonna cut it. Do you think that social media has forced some people to want to strive for perfection too much? From even when
Oh,
they're taking out a picture to the filters,
the filters.
that they put on to remove
Yeah,
any blemishes or so they may have on their face at the time that they want to take the photo.
yeah. So who's the real you? And why are we now letting society define what's beautiful?
Correct.
Perfection is not something that's attainable. And if we're all trying to get the same figure, the same look, what happens to that unique part of you? Do you just ignore that? And I think for some mental disorders like depression, like anxiety,
Hmm.
that focus on trying to be perfect has really caused an upswing, especially with our teenagers and young adults,
When you say
because we're
upswing,
seeing
upswing
these
and what?
things that we're trying to attain, and it's not attainable because it's not real.
No, you said upswing. Upswing and what?
In rates of depression and anxiety.
Or rates of depression and
Mhm.
anxiety. Right. Yeah, that I find too that the constant wanting to compare and some people would look at the stars, for instance, and watch what they're doing and
Mhm.
watch their posts and want to emulate that. So it's a constant desire to want to compare what you're going through. And I mean, everybody's situation is different and nothing is
Right.
wrong with that at the same time.
You know something, I was listening to a podcast the other day on the same subject, and the person that they were interviewing, she was saying, when she decided to take a break from social media, because what she realized she was doing, she was constantly comparing herself to her friends' experiences.
Hmm.
And so one of her friends was going through a really hard time in their relationship, and she was trying to figure out, well, how is that possible, because everything that I see on social media is how what a great life they have, right? They're
Yep.
taking trips, they're always out to dinner, great food. So we're not seeing the reality of people's lives.
Hmm.
And so we have to be mindful of that what we see is really,
Not all is what you get.
no,
And
no,
I think
not at
people
all.
need to understand too that a photo is just a split second of a bigger picture. If
And now
you
that we have filters, is it even a split second of a bigger picture?
filters alone, listen to me, I mean, you watch some of them and they apply the filter so much that you wonder if their face was colored. You know, it's ridiculous. We're getting ready to wrap up now, so I'm just going to ask you one more thing. Just finally to reemphasize for those in everybody that's going through the pandemic and so on and so forth, to be able to keep a healthy frame of mind, what should they really try to focus on and probably not focus on in order to achieve that, given everything that's going on now?
Right. So I think one of the major takeaways, if you forgot everything I said today, is you can't ignore your body and expect to feel good.
Hmm.
And so when I talk about our bodies, though, I mean mind and physically. So remembering to disengage when you need to,
Mm-hmm.
Um, as I said before, there's a lot of information out there. So let's say you have 5 sources that you go to for news. There's no reason why you have to go to those 5 sources in one day. You could decide, you know what, today I'm going to listen to the local news, see what's going on. Tomorrow I'm going to check out World Health Organization website to see what's going on. So
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to overwhelm yourself with all of the things that's happening. Try to focus on the things that you can control. Try to remain positive. What are some things that I enjoy doing? Let me continue doing that. Stay connected with my friends. Something I didn't bring up, and I really want to insert that here,
Yeah, go ahead.
helping someone else. You know, a lot of times we going through something and we so focused on ourselves. We've found that just by helping someone else, one, it takes away the focus from yourself a little bit and it makes you feel good. So that well-being, that state of well-being that we were talking about
Mm-hmm.
factors in here. Having a spirit of gratitude. Scratch, I think that a lot of times, especially us in Grenada, we forget all of the awesome things that we have and we focus on all the things that we don't have. We
Oh yeah,
have our beaches, we have fresh fish, fruits, vegetables. Focus on those things.
I agree. I definitely agree.
Yeah.
And Dr. Arlette Herry, I thank you so much for your words of wisdom during this segment here inside of the ladies' room. I learned something as well. You know, um,
But
thanks for joining us, and stay safe amidst everything that's going on with the pandemic. And hopefully,
thank
we'll hear
you.
from you another time soon. All right.
Thanks for having me. So
All right.
totally enjoyed it.
All right. No problem. Have a good day.
All right, thanks. You too.
All right. Bye
All
bye.
right.
That was
Bye.
Dr. Arlette Herry right here on Power 95 inside of the ladies' room. Got to thank the sponsors for making it happen: Western Union, S. Kumar Variety Store, and also Beacon Insurance. Stay right here. We got a whole lot more coming up.